Ready to downsize? I've got some tips. So how many of you are here because the thought of moving from your long-term home is overwhelming? Okay, so if you look around the room, you have support. So I'm guessing that not many of you have been to a program that prepares you to downsize your home. So many people will tell me, well, Caroline, I would love to move to a smaller house or something with a first floor master, but I don't know where to start. So the process is overwhelming for a lot of people. So my idea in bringing together this diverse group of professionals is to present a holistic approach in addressing the issue. So oftentimes a realtor can focus only on the buying and selling of a property, but not the overall circumstances that a family faces. So my approach to real estate is to look at this from a complete 360-degree perspective and help the families make the right decisions for the right reasons. So today, this presentation will give you information from professionals in downsizing, accounting, law, and home care services to present a complete perspective of how and when to downsize. So for me, it represents an opportunity to show you how I work with all of my clients to make educated decisions for the right reasons. We are offering this program to the community today to give you a roadmap in how to accomplish this goal. So from a realtor's perspective, I'd like to be involved in the process early on. So whether you're going to move next week or next year, I'd like to come into the house and give you an evaluation, and we'll discuss your home and my marketing plan for your home during a confidential consultation. And so then once we decide to work together, I'll go room by room and give you a detailed checklist of what we think we need to do to prepare your home for market. So there are a lot of ways that we can get this done. Perhaps you need a handyman for some deferred maintenance, or a charitable organization to come and take all of your possessions and get a tax deduction. Whatever it is, I have a lot of resources, some of them in this room today, to help get this done, because I know the process can be scary and overwhelming and a lot of different steps. So I'll be with you every step of the way. So perhaps you're afraid of where are you going to go. So if you're going to be moving out of state, Barrett & Warner has a relocation department. We're part of the founding members of leading real estate companies of the world. So if you're going out of state, I can interview an agent and introduce you to a realtor in your next town so that you have confidence that you have a professional on your side there. If you're going to be staying around our area, I'd be happy to give you a preview of condos or townhouses or even ranches that might work so that you have confidence of where you could go. And then when you're ready to make that move, we need to decide, are you staying in your home while it's being shown, or are you going to move first and show the house vacant? So that's going to determine our staging plan. So I'm sure a lot of you have watched HGTV, and staging isn't about spending money. It's about less is more and making each room appeal to the most number of buyers. So we do that a lot of different ways. But the important thing is that the photos are crucial and they need to pop and look great. And we'll just follow the marketing plan to get you on your way to a successful sale.
I hired somebody to help my mother, and I realized this isn't really a business like a mover. I hire a mover, movers that are vetted for my clients. This is a business about making a really important connection. I can't help myself to get close to my clients, and they can't help themselves. It's because of empathy on my part, and because they're so relieved to have help on their part. The help starts with our tagline, and our tagline is from step one to done. So when I meet with a client or clients or family members, the first thing that I do is try to seek to understand what they're up against. And like Caroline said, I know they feel overwhelmed. 9 out of 10 of my clients, I say, how are you feeling? They say overwhelmed. I want to take that on. I want to mitigate that feeling, and that's my number one priority. From there, it's a matter of either bringing in a designer to do a room layout or doing a room layout ourselves, which is fine, it just depends on the needs of the client. And then helping them sort. What can they take? Are they going to stay in their house? Are they selling their house? Do they need a great realtor? And from there, it's a matter of helping them sort out what they're going to take and what they're going to do the rest of the things. And a lot of the times it involves family, it involves a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. It involves bringing in an estate sale company or perhaps an appraiser or an auction house. Also, it involves a lot of donations. Afterwards, our role is to pack. And a commitment that I have to clients is that I'm hands-on. So even though I have a team and every team goes through vigorous background checks, I don't want them in a home without me there, or at least without me there part of the time. In fact, this afternoon, I'm going downtown and I'm spending the rest of the day and probably about until 8 o'clock tonight packing for a move that's taking place on Thursday. Once the movers are there, I supervise the movers, make sure nothing's damaged or everything's loaded properly. And then the unpacking starts. And the unpacking involves not just putting things away, it involves everything from hanging paintings, to putting things away, to organize drawers, to replacing perishables in the refrigerator, and we even have a concierge hour at the end. Oh, by the way, I forgot. Also changing addresses, utilities, everything that's involved. You'll see there's a checklist, and I know that Caroline has provided that to many of you in the past. A lot of those things on the checklist we will do. It's up to the client. But what really is important is making sure that when, by the end of the day, by the end of the first day or by the end of the second day, depending on the size of the move, my clients are comfortable. They feel like they live there, there's no boxes in the way, everything is put away, the internet works, the TV is mounted on the wall, but the cable is definitely working, and it's a matter of follow-up after that.
I'll share with you my top 10 list of how people can save in retirement. And so, I would like to start the conversation, by answering the following question. How can a 70-year-old couple, how much can they save in 1 year if they downsize from a larger home in Northbrook to a smaller home in Northbrook? And I'd like to make two assumptions. The first one being that for each home they put a 20% down payment, and the second assumption, just for the sake of this conversation, that there are no tax implications. So our couple currently lives in a $700,000 home. I apologize that because the screens are over here, but they live in a $700,000 home. Let's call them John and Lisa. So John and Lisa live in a $700,000 home in downtown Northbrook. It's 3,143 square feet, 4-bedroom, 2 stories in downtown Northbrook. And John and Lisa, they raised their family in this home. They raised 2 kids, Jack and Jill. They had a dog. They had beautiful landscaping that they paid for every summer. And they paid a nice chunk of change to have snow removed in the winter. And they loved this home, and it was beautiful. It is beautiful. However, Jack and Jill grew up. They moved out of the house, and they no longer need the space. And they want to simplify, and they want to save a little bit more money to give them more options. So they're considering moving to House B, which is also in downtown Northbrook. House B is a ranch. House B is $485,000, and it's 1,332 square feet in downtown Northbrook. So number one, how can they save? With their mortgage. Currently, John and Lisa are paying $2,800 on their mortgage. If they move to House B, they'll pay $2,000. That's an $800 a month savings, or $9,600 a year. The second point is property taxes, which is falling down. Property taxes in 2016 for the house that they're currently living in, they paid $13,500 in property taxes in Northbrook. If they move to the smaller house in Northbrook, they will pay $6,000. Oh, in 2016, that house, the property taxes were $6,000. So that's a savings of $7,500. Homeowners insurance. In their current house, they pay $2,000 approximately. In the new house, they pay $1,300. So that's $700 in savings. So let's pull it all together. Total annual savings between property taxes, insurance, and their mortgage, they would save $17,800, almost $18,000 a year. Now, Caroline said that sometimes people move out of state, and she can help them with that. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that John and Lisa want to move to Mississippi, to a rural town where Jack lives, their son Jack. And so depending on how far away somebody moves, they can save significantly from a lower cost of living. That's point number 4. Number 5, utilities. So if you move from a smaller house from a larger house to a smaller house, you're going to save on utilities. The U.S. Energy Information Administration survey estimates that energy usage for the average American home costs $1.22 per square foot per year. So that translates in our example to $2,200 in savings. Add that to the $18,000, that's per year $22,000. Now, actually, let's say for the sake of argument that John and Lisa don't want to move to a single family house in Northbrook. Let's say they want to move to a condo. Then they will save on point 6, landscaping. They will no longer have to maintain that beautiful landscaping. They will save on snow removal. And they will likely save on other miscellaneous expenses like pest control. So, but you also have to take into consideration that if you move to a condo, you have homeowners assessment. So I saw that. So yes, you do have to consider that. So now, okay, so they have the option of moving to another single-family home. They have the option of moving to a condo, but let's say they don't want to do any of that. Okay, so let's say they want to move closer to Jill. So close to Jill that they're willing to buy, and I really do need to see this picture, a granny pad. I don't know if anybody has seen a granny pad, but these are usually like prefabricated homes. They are put usually in the backyard of an adult child. They often look like a trailer home, but not always. Sometimes they look like tiny, tiny little houses. Have you ever seen one of those?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, they run the gamut. Like this one is the $27,000 home. But I've read that they can go up to $125,000. And they come equipped with like medical amenities like grab bars. So it helps people age in place, not a bad thing. But I personally have not yet seen one, but I thought I would add that to the conversation. Whoops. And my number 10.
Guest house, right? Like guest house.
It could even be used as a guest house, but it's really, it started for the purpose of helping people age in place. If they want to live closer to their kids, they plop them in the backyard and they're done. I will say, I read that they usually use the utilities of the adult child or whoever's home they're based on. So, I mean, okay, so point 10 fell on the ground, but point 10 is a budget. And honestly, whether you're downsizing or not, a budget is a wonderful tool to use because it's a spending plan. It helps you live within your means, and you know, when you move, you want your home to be beautiful. And I get that. And so what I would say to that is give yourself a budget and really, really stick to it, because this way then you'll have this magnificent home and it'll be beautiful and you're living within your means, and you'll be probably much happier than if you overspend. So
you know, for us, downsizing typically doesn't mean we're working with clients that are in their 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s. or for the most part even 60s. I'm not saying that's an absolute by any means, but for the most part, when we've got clients coming into our office that we're working with and we're helping, we're probably talking about those clients that are probably in their 70s or 80s or older, and they're either downsizing out of that large house, right, that they raised their family in, they lived there for 35 years, it's 5,000 square feet, it's probably 4,000 square feet more than they need at this point, to a condo, or they're moving not into a condo, they're moving into some sort of independent living or assisted living or some continuing care retirement community. And so our goal, obviously there's issues that kind of span the gamut, but really what we're trying to focus on is, do they have all the right documents in place at this point, right? Because in general, 70% of people don't have estate planning done, right? 70% of people don't have a will, don't have a trust, probably don't have powers of attorney in place. It's probably a little lower percentage for powers of attorney. So we might as well make sure we have them in place at this point, right? Because, listen, I hate to break it to everybody here, but as we get older, our chances of maybe starting to develop certain diseases, and a lot of the ones that we see in our office typically are more cognitive than physical, unfortunately. I'd probably say that 75% of the individuals I work with that are moving into some sort of long-term care community, whether it's independent living or assisted or skilled nursing, it's because of cognitive issues. So what does that mean? Well, that means that if at some point we may lose the ability to make our own decisions, we should probably have some documents in place prior that give somebody the ability to make those decisions for us. Anybody have any idea what kind of documents I'm talking about?
Power of attorney.
Power of attorney.
Financial.
All right. For financial and for healthcare. All right, so Illinois, we've got two types of powers of attorney, healthcare and property. So I'll spend a little bit less time on healthcare, but in general, a healthcare power of attorney is sort of exactly what it sounds like. It's a document where we're naming somebody to make medical decisions for us in the event that we can no longer make our own. All right? I think a lot of people sort of pass over this. A lot of people, have this thought, and I say this because a lot of clients I work with have this thought. Oh, well, I'm married, so there's just a default, right? My wife or my husband can make those decisions for me. It's actually true, okay? I don't like to admit it because I don't want people to rely on these things, but there's actually a statute in Illinois, it's called the Healthcare Surrogate Act, and so there is a default. If I don't have a healthcare power of attorney in place and I become incapacitated, per the statute, certain people in a specific order can step in and make medical decisions for me. But those people in that order may not be the people that I want to be making those decisions for me. I may not want, in the event that my spouse is unable to step in on my behalf, I may not want my oldest son to be the one to make medical decisions for me. Maybe because we don't have a good relationship. Maybe because he's just a big softie, like yours truly, and he would have a really hard time, pulling the proverbial plug. In reality, putting the plug in. Right? He may have a hard time not doing that. Sorry, is what I meant. So we want to make sure that we're picking the right people. And the only way to pick the right people is to put that document in place while we still have the capacity to do so. All right, with a healthcare power of attorney, you can name as many people as you want, but it's one person at a time. The property power of attorney. So I always say property power of attorney to clients, and inevitably I work with clients that don't own property, they rent, and they say, well, I rent, so I don't need a property power of attorney. Well, a property power of attorney is really, like the young lady up here said, it's really more of a financial power of attorney, right? It's who can step in and make decisions for me with respect to everything in the world that's not medical. Who can sign a contract on my behalf? Who can deal with Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, IRS, and for purposes of today's conversation, who can sell my house? If I'm incapacitated and I do not have a property power of attorney in place, and the house is only in my name, anybody know what happens? Okay, so I heard probate, guardianship, both good answers, but guardianship is the correct one in this situation. We'll talk about the idea of probate. So it would be a guardianship. If I don't have a property power of attorney and I'm incapacitated, and my wife, whose name might still be on title, is either incapacitated as well or she predeceased me, and I don't have a power of attorney, somebody has to get guardianship over me. right? That's a legal process that entails going to court and costs lots of money. All right, let me compare it. Power of attorney, working with an attorney like me or somebody else, let's figure a couple $100. Guardianship, probably $4,000 to $5,000 on the low end before it's all said and done. Okay? And when you get a guardianship, not only is it going to cost that much money, but you're having to go to court, you're having to hire an attorney. I know everybody loves working with attorneys. And now it's a public process, and you're having, that guardian is now going to have to go into court annually and check in. And before certain things are done, that guardian has to go into court and get permission. Powers of attorney don't have to do that. Okay? Now, sort of a similar situation, what if I passed away, right? And I'm the only owner of the house, and my kids want to sell the house. This is a little bit of a different story. This isn't powers of attorney, but if that house is only in my name, the only way to get that house for my kids to sell it is going to be to open up a probate estate in court. All right, a lot of people have this thought that, and I just want to keep track of my time because I can talk. A lot of people have this thought that, oh, I've got a will, it's fine. My will says everything goes to my kids, not a big deal. You know, trusts, those are for like the Pritzkers. I'm not wealthy, so I don't need that. Well, here's the reality, right? A will doesn't avoid probate. All right? So it's great that I've got a will, great that it says everything goes to my wife if she survives me, if she doesn't, it goes to my kids. But if I die and I'm the only owner of that house and it's in my name, my kids are having to go to court, hire an attorney, open up a probate estate, and get the right papers from the court to sell the house. And again, you're talking about a process that's going to be a couple $1,000s, as long as everybody gets along and nobody's fighting. If you've got kids that like to fight, then it's going to cost more money, it's going to take more time. And it's going to take about a year, okay? About a year to 15 months or so from open to close. All right, now I kind of skipped around a little bit. With a property power of attorney, just to get back to there, it's similar to healthcare. We can name as many people as we want, but it's one at a time. Okay, and we're naming people in a specific order. And again, we want to make sure that we're naming people that are the right person for the job. Again, I have so many clients that sort of have this idea, well, you know, a lot of us are going to name our spouses first, right? If we've got a spouse that's competent, right? I mean, if my spouse is incapacitated, I'm not naming her or him. But most of us are going to name our spouses first, and then most of us, if we've got adult children, we're going to name our adult children. That's just how it works. If we don't have adult children, then we're going to try to look, to other people that we might know and trust. But again, it comes down to naming the right people, right? It shouldn't be like I'm naming my oldest son because he's the oldest, and then I'm going to go down in order of oldest to youngest. Because, my oldest one would get pretty offended if I named my youngest daughter over him. So we got to make sure that we're naming the right person, right? And if my youngest daughter is the one who's the most financially sound and makes the best financial decisions, then she's the right one. Not my oldest son, who can't save any money and makes terrible decisions. When we're naming powers of attorney, I don't care if it's for healthcare or for property, it's a time to be selfish. Okay, we're not worried about, shouldn't be worried about playing games where we're trying not to hurt feelings. We're naming people that are gonna have to potentially step in and make some pretty important decisions for us and handle some pretty important things, whether it's selling the house, whether it's moving into some kind of long-term care community, whatever that might be. It's gotta be a person that's best suited for that job.
At Home Care Assistance, we have a holistic approach to our care. So what that means is we teach our caregivers to, when they're with our clients, to do 5 things with them. Make sure that they are staying physically active, staying social, staying cognitively stimulated, eating healthy, and maintaining a sense of purpose. So I thought what I would do is talk about these 5 things and just kind of give a couple examples of each one just to benefit you guys. So the first thing is healthy diet and eating healthy. And I did some research and came up with 5 foods that are helpful in, people not being stressed. So the first one is, what do you guys think it is? Yeah, green leafy vegetables. So they help, they're rich in folate, which helps your body manufacture neurotransmitters that help regulate mood. The next thing is turkey. So that's a good food. Fermented foods and yogurt is another one. And then blueberries. Hey, all right. And then the last one is dark chocolate. So I actually brought everybody a bar of dark chocolate. So, because I want you all to be healthy. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is the second thing, which is physical activities. And most people think that you have to go to the gym and work out for an hour, 5 times a week, and I'm either going to do it or I'm going to do nothing. So there are numerous studies that show that even if you just do something for 5 minutes a day, like get your heart rate up, even 5 minutes, once, twice, 3 times a day, it is beneficial to your health. Now don't think I'm crazy, but I'm going to show you a couple of exercises. So these toe raises, you can't tell in my heels, but you just get on your toes, you can balance on something, and you do this like 20 times. And what it does is it helps you with balance. So what I'm saying are these little things will help you. Another one is just take like 2 books and just do these arm raises, or do bicep curls, because those are going to help you in daily life, not lift a bag of groceries and then and you throw your back out, now you can't walk for a week, which by the way just happened to me, and I'm so happy I woke up today and my back feels better. Okay, let's see, I'm going to move on. And then the last thing was, like, does anyone here have a dog? I would highly recommend it. I was never a dog person. I got a dog a 1.5 years ago. It has changed my life, but the point of one of the many, many benefits is that I have to walk my dog every day, like 3 or 4 times a day. That's doing me a lot of good too. So just little things, going for your friends, with your friends, mall walking or walking around a park, those are all really little things, subtle changes that can make a difference in your health. The next thing is number 4, staying cognitively healthy. So our brains are like our bodies. If you don't exercise your brain, it's going to get flabby and not work well. So there are certain things you can do, even just a little bit, that will stimulate you cognitively, such as Sudoku, crossword puzzles, reading, planning your own vacation instead of having somebody do it for you, learning a new language. So do you see what I'm saying here? There is research that shows if you use your brain and you stimulate it more and try new things, your brain will work better for you in the long run, for a longer period of time. And then the last thing, I have 2 more. Do I have more time? Okay. The last 2 things are social ties. So there are studies that show if people are social, they're going to live longer and maintain a much better quality of life. So how do you stay social? So as you get older, I notice even, a lot of my friends have gotten sick, or my parents and their friends, and people start to pass away, and so you have like less of your friends. So how do you stay social, and like, do I really want to meet new people? Yes, you do. So some of the things you can do is attend a lecture at a community center or a senior center. I'm going to give Ifat a plug. She has a club called Living Well Social Club that meets once a month, and it's for anybody. What's the ages?
55 and up.
55 and up, and you can just go have a nice lunch. It's $15, and she has different speakers that come in every month. Great event. I've been to every one except one.
It's an intergenerational.
You can also go to a museum, learn how to play bridge or canasta, go to a theater, attend group yoga. Trust me on this, I just started doing it a year ago. I love it. It is and I've met so many great people in the class. And then the last thing is become a regular somewhere. Like, doesn't it feel good if you walk into a coffee shop or a library or the senior center and everyone's like, hey, how's it going? And you know people. Even at my gym, it's such a nice feeling. So that's staying social. And then the last thing I was going to talk about was having a passion, maintaining a sense of purpose. And the best way for me to get this point across is that when I was going through a divorce, this was like 10 years ago, I found comfort and a sense of purpose through writing, and I started to just journal. And every time I felt upset or sad or scared or stressed, I would go to my computer and I would write, and I ended up writing 4 novels about people going through a divorce. It was crazy. But it turned into a passion, which actually turned into a business and a job, and I write a column now on dating relationships in the Chicago Tribune and the Pioneer Press called Love Essentially. So if you haven't seen that, have a look. But whatever you love to do, what makes you laugh? What makes you happy? What are you good at? What did you love to do when you were younger that maybe you don't have time for and you want to find time for it again? That will give you a sense of purpose and just make you happier, and studies show it will make you live longer and have a better quality of life.
Did you find this video helpful? Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more local tips and resources.